So now it's all riveted up. So everything is riveted. And it's come out quite nicely, if I may say so myself. So I fitted the liner. When fitting this liner, or when fitting a liner, use washers. So all the rivets on the inside, you have washers on them, just to hold the leather in, otherwise the leather is going to pull out far too easily. So all of them are riveted up. I don't like this construction because if the liner ever wears out, you have to actually pretty much disassemble most of the helmet. You look at later period ones where they've got separate rivets just for the liners themselves. Just easier to take apart in that. But yeah, that's the crux of it. You'll see, I know the bassinet after this has holes like this on the edge where you actually stitch the liner onto, and it has studs where you actually fit the leather liner to hold your Aventail on, which is just after this period. But yeah, so then it fits quite snugly, which is nice. But there we go. Now we'll move on to the next part where I might think about making some. I'm going to make a video then on how to make chainmail. I'm not sure if I'm going to finish this up with chainmail. So you'll have to make quite a bit of chainmail. The Aventail will have to be, that length, so quite long. There'll be a lot of chainmail to make, and I'm not so crazy about it. I don't have time to make that much chainmail anymore. Okay, so the next video would be how to make chainmail on this helmet. Right, so I know it's been a while, so I'm going to be following up now with the liner for the helmets. So I'm going to be doing both the Spangenhelm and the Jamunbu helm together, the liners together, or the harness, the proper term for it. So what I'm going to show you now, sorry, this is now going to be a bit difficult to record because I don't have my fancy stand or anything, so this is going to be hand recorded as much as possible. So this, I would suggest, is the easiest liner you can possibly make. This is so simple, it really is the easiest way you can do it. So yeah, so this is what we're going to do now. So what I've done is I've marked out two rectangles, right? The rectangles are 65 centimeters long and 26 centimeters high, and you'll see what I'll be doing with that now. The material I'm using is just calico, so it's a cotton material. I like to keep it natural material, cotton and linen. Linen's expensive, but cotton I suggest. It breathes a lot better than the synthetic stuff, and there's not much stretch to it. There's no real stretch in either direction with it, so that is definitely a benefit. And so I'm also doing this in my new child's room, so I am trying to find a place to do this in my house. Can't really do this in my workshop. So yeah, then what we're going to do is a good pair of scissors. These are the ones I have. Any pair of scissors will do. What I do with my material work is you buy even a cheap pair of scissors, only use it for material. If you start using it for paper or anything else, you tend to wear it out and it doesn't cut material as nicely. So yeah, that's just a basic scissor. I'm going to cut out the two rectangles, and then I'm going to go over to sewing it. So we'll carry on there. Right, so now I've got these rectangles cut out. Next thing what you do is you're going to fold it in half down the lengthwise. Again, I'm just doing this with one hand. Right, so what you're going to do is you're going to fold it like that. Make sure it's even. And then you're going to sew just with a normal sewing machine. You're going to sew it, leaving about a tunnel or a loop on the end here of about 1.5 centimeters. I'll show you that next. Right, so sewing along here, I'm just sewing the tunnel along this side here. I'm just also sewing it on a single stitch like that. You can use those lines there as a guide. Alright, so you can see now it's sewed up on that side, and I've got now a tunnel or a loop on this side. All the way through. It's open on this side and open on this side. Okay, so that's it. So that's all you need to do with that part there, and we'll move on to the next stages now of cleaning up the edges, and also why there's that loop up here. Okay. Right. So what we're going to move over, we're going to move over from that sewing machine there to this one here. Now, for those of you who don't know or recognize this is an overlocker, and this sewing machine is specifically designed to test your patience. All right, nothing else but to test your patience. Okay, so this is obviously not necessary really for this. What this overlocker does is it puts a nice hem on the edges so it stops it from unraveling. It stitches it as well, and what it does is it has a little knife there, so it cuts off the edge as it sews it on there. Okay, so what we're going to do with this is just to neaten up the edges, and then I'm going to go all the way around all of the edges. It seals it up so the bottom, so it's no longer open anymore. It sews it shut as well, and then we will go from there. Then I'll show you what the next step is. Right. Alright, before we can continue with the overlocker, one thing I can suggest is always practice it on a off-cut piece of material, because what's going to happen is it's got moods, it's going to change, and you're going to sew something and then it's going to sew your piece wrong. So rather practice first on a off-cut before you carry on with this. See, and it gives it a nice edge like that won't unravel, and it's quite strong. Right, another little tip is when you're doing these edges here, because these two sides are going to be sewed. Okay, let's show you. Like, you're going to loop them around, and these two edges are obviously going to be sewed together. So what you do is you can overlock them together. Right, and then you get a nice stitch with that. Right, so now moving on to the next bit, I've got these harnesses lined up. Now I suppose here comes for the trickiest part. What we need to do is this is going to be the drawstring. Okay, now I need to make a hole in here to fit that drawstring into. Now the whole idea is that you don't want to tear the material. You want to open it up between the weave. So what you do, and I don't have all my full kit yet to do it, is you start off with something small, you poke a hole into it, and then you work your way up bigger, pushing the threads apart with bigger and bigger phallus shaped objects. Okay, so what I've done here is I've put my leather awl through here. Just pierced it and I didn't break any threads, I've pushed it between the threads. Then I'm going to move over to a bigger diameter hole and slowly work my way up. All the way up until I can fit this pencil through it. Right, and on both sides. Now, to pull the drawstring through this hole, you use this funny little clip here. Now I'm going to try to do it with one hand. So what this thing does is you grab hold of it like that, and you slide this thing up and it holds it tight, and this you feed through the hole and through the loop. So I'm going to try put it together, and then I'll show you once I've put it together, because I won't be able to do it with one hand. And just like that. Okay, so it hooks on like that. You feed it through this hole, and then you feed it all the way through and through the loop until it comes out on the other side. There we go. So now it's in the one side, out the other, and now you can kind of see where it's coming along. So this is a drawstring, and then what you can do is you pull it closed, and then obviously that side goes in the helmet, and then you can adjust how wide this is on the top, and then where your head sits inside the helmet. Just like that. Very simple. Very, very simple. I will show you later once it's stitched into the helmet. So I'm going to finish the second one, and then it's the fun job of hand stitching this into the liner inside the helmet, and then I'll show you once that's finished.